Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be telling you my college football playoff prediction. So before I start, I was just going to say make sure you subscribe to help me get to 100 subscribers. I'd be very grateful. So now I'm going to start on the wild card games. So first off, I have the 9 seed Notre Dame versus the 8 seeded Oklahoma, and I have Oklahoma winning 36-21 because I just think that Oklahoma will play better football than Notre Dame, and I just don't think Notre Dame will be able to play like they did last year. I just think they won't be able to execute on both sides of the ball like Oklahoma will. I just think Notre Dame will get more flags. I will think they'll make more errors, and I just think Oklahoma will play a pretty good football game, better than Notre Dame, and advance on to the next round. The next game in the wild card is Texas, Texas, which is 12 seeded, and Texas A&M 5th seeded. So this is a pretty big rivalry, and I have Texas Tech winning about 21 to 3 because I just don't think this will be a high scoring game. I just think that Texas A&M will be able to play better football. They'll pass better, rush better, defend better. And I just think that Texas won't be able to play the best. I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Texas A&M, and I just think that Texas A&M will walk away with the win. And then the second to last game for the wild card, I have the 10 seeded Alabama versus the 7 seeded Ole Miss. I have Ole Miss winning 42 to 31. I think this will be a high scoring game because both teams are capable of moving on to the next round. I just think it'll be or come down to errors, and I just think that Alabama will make more errors, and I just think that Ole Miss will execute on both sides of the ball better than Alabama will. I just think that Ole Miss will play better football. They'll hit harder, more aggressive, faster, stronger, and I just don't think Alabama will keep up with them. And so I think Ole Miss will be able to win. And the last game in the first round is I have the 11th seed Virginia versus the 6th seed Oregon. I have Oregon winning about 28 to 14 because I just think they'll be able to edge out Virginia, and I just think it'll be a close game, also coming down to errors. And I think that Oregon will make less errors than Virginia, and I just think that Oregon will be able to go on to the second round. So now starting on the second round, the first game I have is the 8 seeded Oklahoma versus the 1st seed Ohio State. And I have Ohio State winning about 52 to 41 because I think both teams will play really good football trying to advance to the next round, and I think it'll be a back and forth through the entire game, and I think it'll be a fourth quarter game. I think in the end that Ohio State will be able to score more because of passing, defending, and just rushing, and I just think that Ohio or Oklahoma will make more errors, and I think the penalties will cost them in the end. And I just think this will be like one of the best games, I think, if this happens. And I just think that Ohio State will nearly be defeated but win by an inch. The second round game is Texas Tech, which is 4th seed versus the 5th seed Texas A&M. I think this could be an also big rivalry. But I think in the end Texas A&M will be able to beat Texas Tech because I just think Texas A&M is the better team. I think they'll execute on both sides of the ball better. I think they'll play faster, stronger, and more aggressively. And I just don't think Texas Tech, won't be able to keep up with them. And I just think that Texas Tech will make more errors and get more penalties. And I just think that Texas A&M will win. Now moving on to the second round game, I have Ole Miss versus Indiana, which Indiana is the second seed and Ole Miss is 7th. I have Indiana winning about 32 to 21 because the way Indiana has been playing this year, I think they've been playing really good, and I just don't think Ole Miss will be able to keep up. And I just think that Ole Miss will make more errors, make more penalties. And I just don't think Ole Miss will have a very good game, and I just think that Indiana will play really good football like they usually do this season, and I think they'll play as a team. And I think that'll help them win, and I just think that Indiana will move on to the third round. And then the last game, the second round, I have the third seeded Georgia versus the sixth seeded Oregon. I have Georgia winning about 14-3, a low scoring game, because I think this will be a very tight game. But I think in the end it'll come down to who makes the more penalties and more errors, and I think Oregon will make more errors and penalties, and I just think that it'll be back and forth, both teams doing their hardest. I think this will mainly be a defensive game, and I just think that Oregon will lose and Georgia will win barely. Now moving on to the third round, the round before the national championship, I have Ohio State, which is the first seed, versus the fourth seeded Texas A&M. I think this will be a close game. I think it'll be about 35-31, being a 4-point game. So I think both teams are capable of winning against each other. Both teams having really good players, really good coaches, and I just think it'll come down to the fourth quarter again. And I think that Ohio State will be able to pull it off. And I just think that with Texas A&M playing their third straight game, they're starting to get tired. I just think that Ohio State will edge and pull out in front of Texas A&M and win. The last game in the third round before the national championship, I have the second seeded Indiana versus the third seeded Georgia, and I have Indiana winning against Georgia about with the score of 28-21. Also a close game, because I think both teams will try their hardest, scoring a bunch of points, touchdowns, field goals. And I just think both teams will go back and forth. And I just think that in the end, Indiana will be able to take control of the game, because I just think they'll execute on both sides of the ball better. I just think that they will get less penalties, make less errors than Georgia, and I just think that Indiana will go to the national championship. So in the national championship, I have Ohio State versus Indiana, the first and second seed, and I have the score being 35-34, a 1-point game, and Ohio State winning. I have this really close game because both teams undefeated right now before the playoffs start, and I just think this will be a back and forth game, with like both teams scoring on defense and offense, both teams getting stops on defense, and I just think both teams will pass, protect, and rush good. I think both teams will execute on both sides of the ball good, and I just think that both teams will play aggressive, harder, fast, and I just think it'll come down to the fourth quarter. I just think that the Ohio State will get the ball last and be able to drive and score by a field goal. And I just think that Ohio State will win back-to-back national championships. So I think Ohio State will win this game, or the national championship back-to-back. So I just want to make this video before the college football started to see what I thought. And I hope you guys like this video, and make sure, like I said, to subscribe to give me or help me get 100 subscribers. I hope you guys have a good day.